What's up, everybody? Charlie Marlow here. We are live on the Kenny Wallace YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate that. We've already got a couple people watching, a couple comments. I'm going to read your comments first and give everybody a chance to jump on the live stream. We got Marcus Villarreal. First, my driver, Christopher Bell, won at Bristol. C. Bell getting it done. And then Jim Tolliver saying, I really enjoyed the Bristol race. Lots of action, passing, tire strategies, cars fighting to get back on the lead lap, Mustangs on fire, marbles the size of golf balls. It had everything. And then Brian Lakorchik says, yes, good race. Randall G, good morning, good afternoon. All right, get your comments back in. I'll read some more, but I want to give you guys my opinion first. So I'll read your comments and questions in a second here. The reason I titled this was Bristol a good race. Was it? Because look, we always talk about the Jeff Gluck poll, and I'm a big fan of the Jeff Gluck poll for this reason. It's like an election. It's a democracy. You can agree, you can disagree, but in the end, the people should decide. Not the media, not NASCAR, not people lobbying. It should be the people. So Jeff Gluck's poll, was Bristol a good race? 81% of you said yes. Only 19% said no. And the reason I think it's interesting, more so this race, is because I voted no. And by the way, I think I'm pretty neutral. I think I'm pretty fair. I'm not overly negative. I'm not overly positive. But hardly ever do I disagree with the people in the Jeff Gluck poll. And so I didn't think it was a great race. No, I didn't think it was horrible, but I didn't think it was a great race for this. I was going to say this main reason, but there are two big reasons to me. We talked about this on Herman Schrader earlier today. We just got done recording. It'll come out Wednesday. So I'll just give you the real quick story. We got a dumpster at our house. All weekend long, I'm moving stuff in and out of the dumpster. And so I'm watching the race Saturday night, and I'm moving stuff in and out, but I'm stopping to check the race every time I come in and out of the house. And I just kept thinking to myself, this freaking race is under caution every single time I look at the TV. And then I saw this stat, and I'll find it for you. But we did discuss this earlier, so I think I have the right numbers here. So there were 14 cautions. There were 137 laps worth of caution, which is the most laps ever in the modern era of NASCAR. The most laps ever under caution, not necessarily the most cautions. The most cautions at Bristol ever, we looked this up, it's tied 3 different races for 20 cautions. This race had 14 cautions, but it had 137 laps worth of cautions. And this is why I didn't think it was particularly a great race. And I'll try to find the exact tweet, but somebody did the math on this. And it basically said, if the race lasted like 3 hours and 45 minutes, I think that's about what it was. I'm ballparking, but I'm pretty close here. If the race lasted 3 hours and 45 minutes, the time run under caution was over 2 hours. It was something like 2 hours and 3 minutes. To me, that's pretty crazy. If you think about what other sports are trying to do to keep sports interesting, obviously football has changed all the defensive rules, whether you like them or not. You can't touch the quarterback. They want more scoring. They want more action. They want more offense. Look at what baseball did a couple years ago with the pitch clock. The whole reason baseball went to the pitch clock was they wanted more action. They didn't want the dudes stepping out of the box, taking 25 seconds, the pitchers taking 40 seconds between pitches. Action, action, action. We have a low attention span, ADD sports audience. We want action. So for me, the fact that race, they're just doing caution laps for 2 hours, I didn't love that. But I'm being fair. I get it. Y'all like the strategy, the crazy tire wear. We can get into that. I also... And I'm adding a third now. I mean, the fact that people talk about gimmicks and all that and WWE. I mean, the fact that NASCAR really wasn't prepared for the tire wear and they had to basically say, hey, teams, you get another set of tires. That screws with a lot of strategies. I don't think that was fair right there. So that was kind of my third part. I mentioned so many laps under caution. And again, great finish. Love the finish. I'm not being a hater. But the other part, and maybe this is where I've been programmed to expect more, is this was a cutoff race. And I think most of us love watching cutoff races for the fact that there's usually crazy drama at the end. There's usually crazy drama, who's in, who's out at the end. The whole reason NASCAR went to the playoff format is to have the cutoff race nights where you're just glued to the TV. If not, hey, go back to the 36 race schedule. Mark Martin will be happy and all that. But the fact that there was very little drama whatsoever in terms of the 4 drivers being eliminated. Now, I do know, look, for a while there, Alex Bowman was leading the race, and he was right there, top 5. I think he finished, by the way. Let me look. He finished well. Alex Bowman finished 8th. So I understand that if Alex Bowman wins, that makes it interesting now on the cut line a little bit with who? That'd have been Ross Chastain. Let me just ring him off for you because I don't have the greatest memory either. So, yeah, there was a time at that race when Alex Bowman is leading where you're then thinking, okay, it's down to, I think, Ross Chastain at the time. So Tyler Reddick is the 12th place driver right now. And I'll read those standings off to you. But my point is, to me, way too many laps under caution and no cutoff playoff race drama. So that's to me. I'm not saying I hated the race, by the way. The Jeff Gluck poll is just, was it good, yes or no? If you had more options, like, was it a great race? Was it a good race? Was it an okay race? Was it a bad race? I wouldn't have put bad. I wouldn't have put great. I would have fallen somewhere between, actually, I probably would have put mediocre, whatever that word would be, mediocre, neutral, blah, blah, blah. So that's my take on it. Christopher Bell wins. You got Joe Gibbs Racing sweeping the opening round of the playoffs. Even more impressive is 3 different drivers win. Chase Briscoe wins Darlington. Denny Hamlin wins our race here in St. Louis. I'm located in St. Louis. If you didn't know that, by the way, please put your comments in. Give us a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. We appreciate that. And then, of course, Christopher Bell, good on the last restart, and he wins. And then Ty Gibbs, by the way, speaking of JGR drivers, now Ty Gibbs obviously not in the playoffs, but Ty Gibbs had a hell of a run, led the most laps. Let me find that for you because I looked this all up. I was looking up all the stats earlier this morning when we recorded Herman Schrader. Ty Gibbs finished 10th. He led 201 laps of this race. He led the most laps of this race. We've already discussed, obviously, a lot of these laps were under caution. Chase Briscoe led the second most, 127. C. Bell only led 12 laps in the last, 4 or 5, whatever it was, on the restart. But give Joe Gibbs Racing a ton of credit. They've dominated the first round of the playoffs. So those are my opinions right there. The tire wear stuff, and I'll kind of elaborate before I get to you guys on the chat. And I appreciate you guys jumping in. We got 49 people of you watching right now live. I appreciate that. And I do these live streams, by the way, just to get you guys involved. I think you guys like commenting and whatnot. Yeah, I'm not Kenny Wallace. I get it. But I'm somebody, right? Okay. The other part that I haven't really thought of, but I've kind of always thought of this, which is, and this is a big picture problem. It's an off-season problem. It's a next year problem. But I'm not going to pretend like the tire issues, whatever it is, good, bad, in between, there's so much pressure on Goodyear to get this right. Every race, different tracks, different track temperatures, the temperature changing 5 degrees, which made a huge impact. Let's be honest also why they're doing this. Because of the next gen car, which is not perfect, it has its problems. I think most people would agree with that. Because the next gen car, they're so similar, it's hard to pass, blah, blah, blah. NASCAR is relying on Goodyear to bail out the car, in my opinion. And so Goodyear, every week, different track, different weather, different length, day race, night race, whatever it is, there's so much pressure on Goodyear to try to solve the racing with the tire when it should be the opposite. The tire shouldn't have to bail out the car. In my opinion, the car should be able to bail out a tire. The car is the same. The car needs to race better. And it's not something they can change right now. They can do the horsepower increase coming up off season. They can figure stuff out. They're going to let the teams tinker and all that. They got to do something. But those are my thoughts. I know people like the strategy, the bumping, the physicality, the cording of the tires. I get that. There was some entertainment value to all of those things that I just mentioned. But to me, the two biggies, way too many laps under caution. That's boring. And not enough cut line drama for a cutoff race. So there you go. 11 and a half minutes in. Let's go to the chat and see what y'all are talking about. Drake Steffi. Gotta love them Chevys. Troppy Cannabis Todd. It was a driver's race. Driver's race and strategy. Marcus, you're famous. LOL. Henry Abrigo. Great day. Awesome content, brother. Thank you for sharing NASCAR news and insights. Let's see. I think we should go to Waffle House for chicken and eggs and iced tea. Okay. Felt like old Bristol from Tony Kendrick. Mike Martin says, great race, but tires wore too fast. Talk about all the fires. I thought NASCAR fixed this issue with the next gen car. The original fire issue, though, remember Kevin Harvick? That was the first year. If you think about the evolution of the next gen car, the first year was the safety issue. That was cars on fire. Kevin Harvick, car on fire. He comes out. He's very critical. And then also, of course, Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch has the concussion. It essentially ends his career a bit early. He probably wasn't going to race much after that. But year one of the next gen car was fixing the safety. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of it. Am I wrong on this? We've always thought this with the passing, but I feel like this is year 4 of the next gen car. I feel like this is the year where it's really hit critical mass with the racing of the car. Year 1, safety. Year 2 and 3. What were we talking about? I feel like we were kind of over the safety stuff, and I feel like we were starting to discuss the raceability of the car. But this is the year where we've really focused on the raceability of the car. And you've had big names. Again, Kevin Harvick says the car sucks. Dale Jr. says he's not a fan of the car. Year 4 here is when we've really seen. I mean, you tell me, guys, besides the lawsuit, which is a constant storyline, the next gen car being a problem has been a discussion for the entire season 2025. And it really plays into that Jeff Gluck poll week after week after week, which I brought up at the beginning, which was that 81% of the folks thought Bristol was a good race. And I actually disagreed, and I rarely ever disagree with that Jeff Gluck poll, again, because in my opinion, too many cautions and not very much cut line drama, which is normally the case for a cutoff race in the playoffs. 5-star. Yes, tires that wear. Let's see. Brian Lekorchik says, rather have drivers manage their tires than run 500 qualifying laps. I get that too. That was the whole argument that Matt Weaver was making. Matt Weaver, who does a great job covering the sport. He contributes on this channel. We posted his interview with Brad Keselowski on this channel. It's like 2 minutes. You can check it out. But that was his whole storyline. I didn't read his article because I was too busy watching all of his videos. But he's basically saying binary choice. Look, we all want to fix the car, I would think. The car's not going to be fixed right now. So if you have to choose between a tire wear race craziness like Saturday night or Kyle Larson dominating and frickin' leading 400 some laps. What do you choose? I think most people would choose the tire wear race, including me. I totally get that. But still, that's to me more micro issue. The macro issue is next gen car. We got to fix it. But I do agree, if you're giving me a choice and I have to choose between Saturday night tire wear or Kyle Larson dominating, not a lot of passing, I'm certainly going to take Saturday night's race over some of the things we've seen previously at Bristol. So Brian Lekorchik saying, old Bristol. Let's see. We got Tony Crivello. What's making the rubber sticking to the underside and catching fire too many times since this car came about? Brian says, blame TV for that. Are you talking about the cut line drama? I'm guessing. Chi-Town says, liked everything about the race except for the fires. That is BS. Okay, fire is bad. I feel like this is like Beavis and Butthead. Fire. Remember that? Fire. I'm 43 years old, okay? I grew up with Beavis and Butthead back in the day. Yes, fire is bad. Mark McGuire said steroids is bad. Okay, but so am I wrong? When I say am I wrong, it's my opinion. Am I the only one thinking that there were way too many laps under caution? Did that not bother you guys that 2 hours of the race was run under caution? I get the hour 43, whatever it was. You got to watch racing. You like the racing. If more than half the race is under caution, that's not very entertaining to me. Am I in the minority? It sounds like I am. Let me know. It was nice seeing Bristol have it all. That's from Falcon 1824. There were more empty seats than caution laps. That's from Trax Former 41. Too many caution laps, valid complaint. All right, you agree with me there. Tires is what wins a race, from Harry Hogg. Wade says, I think it was a good race, simply because it was different. I get that. The tire wear made it more entertaining and exciting. And one of the best cars, drivers still won. I agree. Tony Crivello, seems like NASCAR doesn't care about having people in the seats, less to clean up after the race. Okay, let me bring this up real quick. I don't want to steal material from Herman Schrader. This is a very small part of the show. But I read this earlier. Kenny Wallace sent me this. So I'm going to find it for you real quick. It's about this creative marketing agency that NASCAR hired to kind of go back to the roots, the good old days. So I'll just read these stats. NASCAR is doubling down on its brand amid momentum for the sport. NASCAR Cup Series broadcasts average 2.7 million viewers per minute, the highest among U.S. motorsports properties. That's right now. Ticket sales are up 6% year over year. Nobody's saying it's 15, 18 years ago, but it is up ticket sales wise 6% year over year. Digital platform visits have grown 10%, and social followers now total 18 million across platforms, an increase of 1.5 million since the start of 2025, according to the brand. So that's like an increase of what? About 10%, 11%, whatever that number is. So I get you seeing some empty seats, but it's actually on a slight uptick from last year. So we do have to put these things in perspective. Gibbs Salisbury says, it was an absolute joke. I didn't call it a joke, but I didn't love it. And I just think the adding tires at the end, I mean, so they clearly weren't prepared for the tire wear. It's fair to say there's a little bit of WWE in there that all of a sudden you have to change the strategies during a race. What Ross Chastain said after the race, again, during his Matt Weaver interview, he's like, just tell me how we're racing. Just prepare me. Let all the drivers and teams and crew chiefs know what's going on. That's what's fair. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Chi-Town, NASCAR should have had the tires ready to go before the race started in case they need them. Yep, I agree. Brian Lekorchik, meh. Kevin Gallagher, it was okay, but boring. That's kind of where I was. Okay, too many caution laps. Lisa Jones, hello, Charlie. Kenny is quite busy. He is. He did the show, by the way. He won last night at Quincy, and his daughter is, and he can let me say this because he already said it to you guys all on Coffee with Kenny. His daughter is in labor right now. So he finished Herman Schrader, and then he drove right to the hospital. So he is very, very busy. Let's go. Homestead in the Wood with D. Hello, everyone. That's what Kenny usually says. Hello, everyone. Here from Eastern Kentucky again. Hit that like and subscribe. Thank you. Lisa Jones, race was okay. That's what I thought. Race sounded exciting on PRN. There's another way to look at it. There's so many different ways to watch a race. In person, different experience than on TV. Different experience than on radio. TV, you might go, kind of boring, but maybe the broadcasters elevate the product. Maybe the broadcasters elevate the product on radio. You don't have the pictures. I thought Amazon Prime's coverage was amazing when they had the 5 races. I thought they elevated the TV product, both pre-race, during the race, and post-race with all of their hour-long post-races and all that. Bowline Railfan. To me, the race was exciting at the start with the tires, and it was great seeing the cars running on the bottom lane and using bump and run again. Overall, even with cautions, it was great. All right, that's cool. Don't disagree about the caution laps. That's from Brian Lekorchik. Engineers can't touch the car, but I do agree with you. The car driver should take care of the tires. Yes. After the last 2 races at Bristol Motor Speedway, yes, this felt like the Bristol that fans loved from the 90s to 2007. I was in attendance for the last 4 races, and the race was anything but boring. David Bradley. Yeah, I don't know if, when I say boring, I mean, can't we agree that caution laps are boring and there were too many? That's all I'm saying. Way too many caution laps. You can't have 2 hours of caution laps. I'd been happy with that if I was there. Only been to Bristol for the inaugural dirt race. Why did they ever go to concrete anyway? Bring this tire back in the spring. You will see a different race because teams will anticipate the fall off and you will have tires lasting for 60 to 70 laps. David Bradley, V Ginger P. Well, Bristol is a rough track in my opinion. I've been twice, and one race's car crashed right in front of the VIP section. In one race, cars crashed right in front of the VIP section. Worn out asphalt is king, Brian Lekorchik. Tires, Lisa Jones. More horsepower would still be nice, Brian Lekorchik. Larson has been all messed up since his Indy crashes. Yeah, wasn't he good last week, though? Larson, what was his finish at St. Louis? He was leading, or he was up front a lot of that race, St. Louis. Yesterday, Larson finished, where did he finish? 32nd. 32nd for Kyle Larson. Let's go to St. Louis. St. Louis, I thought it was 12th. Yeah, Kyle Larson finished 12th at St. Louis, but 52 laps led. Let's also remember, Hendrick has not been great since the playoffs have started. Joe Gibbs and Toyotas have dominated. Just because I'm on these results, let's check that real quick. Let's check Hendrick drivers for the 3 playoff races. Okay. Not one Hendrick driver in the top 10 at Darlington. You got to go. I mean, we all know Darlington, that they were bad. Let me just double check so I'm not saying the wrong thing here. Hendrick, Darlington. You got Kyle Larson 19th. William Byron 21st. You got Alex Bowman 31st. And you got, who did I miss there? Where's Chase? Chase Elliott was 17th at Darlington. So 17th, 19th, 21st, and 31st at Darlington. I'll just do this real quick. My point is, Larson certainly looked like had a slump after Indy. But the last 3 races or so, you got to basically say that Hendrick also has been in a slump. So Chase Elliott did finish 3rd at St. Louis. And who else? William Byron, 11th at St. Louis. Kyle Larson, 12th at St. Louis. Alex Bowman was 26th at St. Louis. Remember, Alex Bowman at Darlington also had the terrible pit stop. So Hendrick, terrible at Darlington, a little bit better at St. Louis. And now we'll go to Bristol. And Hendrick, Bowman was 8th. Byron was 12th. Where are we going here? I mentioned Kyle Larson 32nd. Chase Elliott was out after 311 laps. He was 38th. So, yeah, Hendrick terrible at Darlington, a little bit better at St. Louis. And then, so St. Louis was their best race. And then kind of sporadic there at Bristol, including Chase Elliott being 38th. So While I'm here, let's go to the playoff standings just to give y'all an update. So, Denny Hamlin in first. He's plus 26 to the cut line. William Byron second. He's 24, plus 24 to the cut line. Kyle Larson third, also plus 24 to the cut line. Christopher Bell, he's won a race. Just won Bristol, plus 20 to the cut line. Ryan Blaney, fifth, plus 19 to the cut line. Chase Briscoe, sixth, plus 10 to the cut line. Chase Elliott, seventh, plus 5 to the cut line. Bubba Wallace, eighth, plus 1 to the cut line. And the guys that are right now beyond the cut line, Austin Cindric, 1 point back. Joey Logano, 2. Ross Chastain, 2. Tyler Reddick, 3. You got to think there'll be a lot more cut line drama, we would think, coming up here in the round of 12 down to the round of 8. We didn't see hardly any cut line drama from the round of 16 to the round of 12, unfortunately. Let's see. We'll go back to the chat. David Bradley. They went to concrete because asphalt from the early 90s was not sticking, so they went to the concrete. No caution lap length to sell commercials. Brian, burning bridges. I don't think they can ever bring it back to where it was. NASCAR really thought the woke crowd was going to hang out. They were just there for the grift and then left. Yeah, I also think all corporations went, if you want to get into this, certainly most corporations went too far woke. And I think you're seeing a correction. You're seeing a correction in the last year or so. We'll be back to the real good old days. No. Should it? Should there have been a little correction? What I'm saying is, should you have gone the direction of the woke a couple percentage points? When I say woke, I just mean like a little more PC, but not way more PC. And I don't even love PC, but I'm talking here and there. We can argue about all this stuff if you want to, but they certainly went too far that direction. But now you're seeing a course correction coming back. Let's see. I thought the race was a wreck fest. Rob Johnson. Laps don't count under stage caution. Ken Ruggles. What do you mean by that? No, I get that, but I'm saying still too many, way too many caution laps overall. What I'm saying is 200 or 2 hours of caution laps. And I think the number was like 137, 138 laps, whatever it was, under caution, which was the most in the modern era of NASCAR. The most laps under caution. That's 49 years. We looked this up. That's like 49 years, 1,771 races. Bristol was the most laps under caution. That's too much for me. Chi-Town. NASCAR was running all those caution laps because they knew teams wouldn't have enough tires to finish. Yeah. So isn't that boring? Or am I wrong? The laps between stages is ridiculous. I don't mind that normally just because it does give you a chance to go to the bathroom. Way too many chances to go to the bathroom in this race. But if you drank a lot of beer, you need to go to the bathroom. So I get that. I think more people in stands if the tickets were cheaper, from Lisa Jones. Yes. People today don't see what we saw in NASCAR years ago. They don't change engines. They don't see 10,000 parts working together to make that car go fast. The youth don't see that. Yeah, it's from Burning Bridges. Are you calling me the youth? Am I the youth? I'm 43. I know I have a baby face. I love the Amazon Prime races, Homestead. Yes, I agree. They're great. Tickets aren't expensive when that many are available. Just shop the secondary market. Brian Lekorchik. Congratulations to Kenny on his win and on being a grandfather again. Yes. Bowline Railfan. How many? He's got to have, I don't know exactly. He's got to be having now, what, 6, 7, 8 grandkids? Something like that? 5, 6? Something like that. He's got a bunch. Tires were too fast. Maybe they could make them just a little less soft. That's from Patricia. It's all about how well a driver can maneuver the cookie-cutter IROC cars around the track. Ken Ruggles. Not a fan of the next-gen car. I loved IROC racing. Better than some higher-dollar team winning everything all the time. Dominance is boring. I think there's a happy medium there, though. I think we want a little more, in my opinion. I like the fact that the next-gen car has equalized that smaller teams have a better chance to win. I don't mind the better teams, though, having a little more of an advantage. NASCAR sucks is trending. Is that true? On X? I'm going to look that up right now. NASCAR sucks is trending. Is that accurate? Let me find him. Let me look at my trending. Trending. A lot of politics. Trending in sports. Let's see. I'm not seeing that. I'm going way down. I don't see any NASCAR sucks trending on X. I mean, the people love this race. 81% Jeff Gluck poll. People like this race. Let's see. Brian Lekorchik. Racing isn't just for gearheads that care more about technology and performance. It's about entertaining sports fans. Sports fans like drama and lots of offense. I agree. And really, look, I love you diehards. They got to get the casuals, though. When you start getting the casuals is when you start to really see the ratings explode. Jim Tolliver. My wife and I were there in a suite overlooking Turn 4. I enjoyed the race very much. There were some empty seats, but it was still crowded. Took 2.5 hours to get back to the hotel after the race. So that ain't good. D. Turner 40. Problem is the start of that race would not have played out like it did and be so screwed up if NASCAR would have had a couple 1-hour practices. Unknown package. Let's try to save money and screw the fans. Brian Lekorchik. Cracker Barrel keeps their mascot. Let's see. You need to count laps under caution, LOL, unless you want a 5-hour race. Yeah, my point, if you're coming at me for that, I understand that. I get that. Isn't 2 hours of caution laps too much? I mean, am I in the minority? I guess I am. I just think every time I looked at the TV, caution. Every single time I looked at the TV, it seemed like they're under caution. That's my point. Let's see. All right, I'm going to try to read all of your comments. Jeremy Gilly. How would the race have played out if the severe tire wear would have been known from practice or even expected prior to the drop of green? Teams can play with setups to increase tire life as well. But that's where I do give NASCAR some leeway. Apparently the 5-degree drop in temperature is the reason the tires responded that way. It's hard to predict things like that. But then again, this is the point. You're asking the tire to always bail out the car. It's got to be the other way around. You have to big picture fix the next gen car. NASCAR needs a red flag if cleanup is going to take too long. Red flag, yellow flag to me. It's not cars going around the track exciting in green flag. To me, yellow caution is just as boring as a red flag and the car's sitting there parked. Let's see. Robert Beanbine. I think if the team would have known there was going to be a problem and they were able to change setups, it probably would have been better. Ken Ruggles. This one is 6. What does that mean? I don't know. Tim Garrett. Stock car racing isn't a stick and ball. Stop trying to be them. I enjoyed it. It was a great race. Live is way better when you can see everything. I agree. I watched St. Louis live. It was awesome. I'm sure some people watching on TV didn't love it. I was there. It was fantastic. Cautions are unpredictable. Bristol laps click off quickly. That's true. True, but it's still 2 hours. 2 hours. That's been my point. 2 hours of caution laps. The Lord Jesus has been good to Kenny. 8 grandkids is certainly a blessing. Yeah, if that's the right number. It's right around there. Jeremy Gilly. 100% tires are not the long-term solution, just a short-term Band-Aid. The question is NASCAR looking at it like this? I think so. They're needing the tires to bail out the car for 2025. Hopefully they can make some significant changes that make a big difference in the offseason so that the racing is better in 2026 and beyond. We all know they're not getting rid of the next-gen car. Let's improve it. Let's make it as raceable, as racy as possible. Brian Lekorchik says true. There you go. I have read every single one of your comments. I really appreciate all you guys doing this. I'm going to try to jump on every Monday after the race if I can, if it's possible. I did it last week. I started it last week because I was at the St. Louis race, so I thought I had a little more to say. But also, I like reading your guys' comments and getting you involved as well. So there you go. Brian Lekorchik says more horses and hopefully less shifting. There you go. Let's end on that. Thank you very much for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Remember, Herman Trader coming out Wednesday, and the Kenny Conversation with Tim Ward audio comes out Thursday on Dirty Mo Media. Lisa Jones says, God bless all. God bless you as well, Lisa Jones. See you later. Thanks for watching. 35 minutes. We just hit it. Boom. Time to end the stream. End stream. End stream.